Alexander Kane's champagne glass trembled in his hand. Across the glittering ballroom, Victoria stood draped in scarlet silk, her laugh echoing above the orchestra's strings. That same laugh that once made his chest tighten with joy now twisted like a knife between his ribs. She was with someone new, her manicured fingers resting possessively on another man's arm, and Alexander felt the walls of the grand hall closing in. He couldn't breathe, couldn't think. The chandeliers above blurred into stars of panic, and before rational thought could intervene, his hand shot out toward the nearest person, a woman in a simple navy dress, standing alone near the marble pillar, holding a glass of wine like it was a shield. "Dance with me," Alexander said, his voice rougher than intended. The woman turned, startled. Her brown eyes widened, confusion flickering across delicate features framed by waves of chestnut hair. She glanced around as if he might be speaking to someone else. "Me?" she asked. "Yes. Now. Please." The desperation in his tone surprised even him. She hesitated, her gaze darting from his outstretched hand to Victoria across the room, then back to him. Something shifted in her expression, curiosity replacing caution. She set down her wineglass and placed her hand in his. "I don't usually dance with strangers," she said as he led her onto the floor. "Neither do I," Alexander admitted, positioning his hand at her waist. The orchestra swelled into a waltz, and they began to move. "I'm Alexander." "Emma." Her voice was soft but steady. "Emma Sinclair." As they swept across the polished marble, Alexander became acutely aware of how perfectly she fit against him. Emma moved with natural grace, not the practiced precision of the socialites who surrounded them, but something more genuine. Her perfume was subtle, vanilla and something floral he couldn't name. "You're not here for the charity component, are you?" Emma asked, tilting her head slightly. Alexander blinked. "What makes you say that?" "The way you looked at that woman in red. The way you practically grabbed me. You're hiding from something." She studied his face with unsettling directness. "Or someone." A surprised laugh escaped him. "You're perceptive. I'm an artist. I notice things." Emma's lips curved into a small smile. "So, which is it? Ex-wife? Ex-girlfriend?" "The latter. Victoria. She's over there making a point." Emma glanced discreetly toward the scarlet dress. "Ah, and I'm the prop in your performance?" "That was the plan," Alexander admitted, guilt creeping into his chest. "But now I'm wondering if I should apologize or thank my panic for introducing us." "Start with apologizing," Emma said, though her tone held amusement rather than anger. "I'm sorry. That was unfair to you." "Apology accepted." They turned and Emma's dress swirled elegantly, though I have to admit this is the most interesting thing that's happened to me all night. These events aren't really my scene. Mine either, believe it or not. Emma raised an eyebrow. "You're Alexander Kane, aren't you? The hotel empire? I saw your face on the invitation committee roster. This is literally your scene." "My family's scene," Alexander corrected. "There's a difference. I show up, write checks, shake hands, but I'd rather be anywhere else." "Where would you rather be?" The question caught him off guard. When was the last time someone asked him what he wanted? Somewhere quieter, somewhere real, maybe a rooftop bar with terrible acoustics and good conversation. Emma laughed, a genuine sound that made something warm unfurl in his chest. "That's specific." "What about you? Where would you rather be?" "My studio," Emma said without hesitation. "Paint on my hands, music too loud, working on a piece that might actually mean something." "You're a painter?" "Trying to be. The struggling artist cliché is real, I'm afraid. I only came tonight because my best friend works for the event company and begged me. Said I needed to get out of my apartment." She paused. "I was planning to leave after one glass of wine." "And now?" "Now I'm dancing with a billionaire who used me as a human shield. Life is strange." The song ended, but neither of them pulled away immediately. Alexander found himself reluctant to release her hand. Around them, couples shifted and reformed, but they stood in their small pocket of stillness. "Stay," Alexander said impulsively. "Just for a little while. Let me make up for ambushing you." Emma considered this, her brown eyes searching his face for something. Whatever she found must have satisfied her because she nodded. "1 hour? Then I really do need to go." "1 hour," Alexander agreed, though he already knew it wouldn't be enough. They drifted away from the dance floor toward the terrace doors. The night air was cool against Alexander's skin, a relief after the stuffy ballroom. The terrace overlooked the city, lights twinkling below like earthbound stars. Only a handful of guests lingered outside, speaking in hushed tones. "Better?" Emma asked, leaning against the stone railing. "Much." Alexander joined her, maintaining a respectful distance. "Tell me about your art." "Why?" "Because I want to know." "What do you paint?" Emma's expression softened. "Moments, mostly. The spaces between things. That second before something changes, where everything hangs in balance." She gestured vaguely. "I know that sounds pretentious." "It sounds honest," Alexander said. "Do you sell your work?" "Sometimes. Enough to keep the lights on, barely. I had a gallery show last year that did okay, but the art world is complicated. It's not always about the work itself." She turned to face him fully. "What about you? What do you do when you're not attending galas and running hotel empires?" "Honestly, I don't know anymore." The admission felt dangerous, but Emma's directness invited the same from him. "I used to love the work, building things, creating spaces where people made memories, but somewhere along the way it became about quarterly reports and board meetings. My father built the company from nothing. Now I'm just maintaining his legacy." "That sounds lonely." "It is." Alexander had never said those words aloud before. Victoria understood that part at least, but she wanted the lifestyle more than she wanted me. When I tried to pull back to find something more meaningful, she left. "How long ago?" 6 months. Seeing her tonight was the first time since. Emma nodded slowly. "And you panicked." "Spectacularly." He met her eyes. "But I'm glad I did." A door opened behind them and feminine laughter spilled onto the terrace. Alexander recognized the pitch immediately. Victoria emerged, her arm still linked through her companion's, but her gaze locked directly on Alexander. She'd seen them. "Alexander," Victoria said, her voice honey-sweet and venomous. "I didn't expect to see you out here. And who is your friend?" Emma straightened, and Alexander felt her stiffen beside him. "Emma Sinclair," she said evenly. Victoria's eyes swept over Emma's dress, her simple jewelry, assessing and dismissing in seconds. "Sinclair, I don't believe I know the family." "That's because there isn't one to know," Emma replied without flinching. "I'm here as a guest." "How lovely." Victoria's smile could have cut glass. "Alexander does have a habit of collecting strays. I'm Victoria Sterling, his ex-fiancée." The word fiancé hit Alexander like cold water. They'd never been engaged. Victoria was rewriting history. "We were never engaged," Alexander said firmly. "Details." Victoria waved a dismissive hand. "We were together for 3 years, Alexander. That counts for something." "It counted for something," Alexander agreed. "Past tense." Victoria's composure cracked slightly, irritation flashing across her beautiful features. "Still bitter, I see. That's beneath you." She turned her attention back to Emma. "You seem sweet. A word of advice?" "Alexander has commitment issues. Don't get too attached." "Thanks for the warning," Emma said coolly, "though I'm perfectly capable of making my own assessments." "Of course you are." Victoria's tone dripped condescension. She leaned closer to Alexander, her perfume cloying. "When you're done playing, call me. We should talk, privately." She swept back inside before Alexander could respond, leaving uncomfortable silence in her wake. "Fiancé?" Emma asked quietly. "Never. She's lying." Alexander ran a hand through his hair. "She wanted marriage. I wanted to make sure we were building something real first. Apparently that made me the villain." "Did you love her?" The question was direct, unflinching. Alexander appreciated that about Emma. "I thought I did. But I think I loved the idea of her more than the reality. She fit the life I was supposed to have. And now? Now I know the difference between what looks right and what feels right." He turned to Emma, something desperate and honest rising in his chest. "I know we just met. I know this is insane. But talking to you feels more real than anything I've experienced in years." Emma's breath caught. For a moment, Alexander thought he'd pushed too far, revealed too much. But then she smiled, tentative and genuine. "It does feel real, doesn't it?" she whispered. They stood there, the city sprawling below them, the gala a distant hum of music and voices. Alexander reached out slowly, giving Emma time to pull away. She didn't. His fingers found hers and their hands intertwined. "Tell me about your last painting," Alexander said. Emma laughed, the tension breaking. "You really want to know?" "I really do." So she told him. About the canvas depicting a doorway, half open, light spilling through while darkness pressed from behind. About the struggles with perspective and shadow, the hours spent mixing the exact shade of gold for the light. Alexander listened, genuinely fascinated, asking questions that showed he understood not just the technical aspects, but the emotional weight behind the work. "I'd like to see it," he said when she finished. "The painting?" "Your studio, your work, all of it." Emma studied him. "That's not a line? That's a genuine request? Though I understand if you're not comfortable with—" "Tuesday," Emma interrupted, "and come Tuesday at 2, I'll give you the address." Alexander felt something like hope bloom in his chest. Tuesday at 2. They returned to the ballroom after exchanging phone numbers, neither quite ready to say goodbye, but both aware they needed to circulate. Alexander was immediately intercepted by a board member wanting to discuss the new Shanghai property, and Emma drifted toward the silent auction displays. He lost sight of her for 20 minutes, trapped in conversations about profit margins and expansion strategies. When he finally excused himself, he scanned the crowd frantically, irrationally afraid she'd left. Then he spotted her, cornered near the champagne fountain by Victoria and two of her friends. Emma's posture was defensive, her smile forced. Alexander's protective instincts flared hot and immediate. He crossed the ballroom in long strides, arriving just as Victoria said, "It must be so quaint being an artist. Do you actually sell anything, or is it more of a hobby?" "It's my career," Emma said tightly. Of course. I'm sure you're very talented." Victoria's tone suggested the opposite. "Though you have to admit there's a certain desperation in pursuing art in this economy. Wouldn't something more stable—" "Victoria?" Alexander's voice cut through her words like a blade. "We need to talk. Now." Victoria's eyes gleamed with triumph, misreading his intention. "Finally. I knew you'd come around." "You're humiliating yourself," Alexander said quietly, aware of the attention they were drawing. "And you're being cruel to someone who's done nothing to you. Stop." Victoria's face flushed. "I'm being cruel? You're the one who paraded her around to make me jealous." "I didn't parade anyone. I met someone interesting, someone kind, someone real. That's not about you." Alexander glanced at Emma, whose eyes were wide. "I'm sorry I used you earlier, Emma." "That was wrong. But everything since, the conversation, the connection, that's been genuine, and I won't apologize for that." The ballroom had gone quiet, dozens of eyes watching the scene unfold. Victoria looked between them, realization dawning that her plan had backfired. "You're choosing her?" Victoria's voice rose. "Some nobody artist over everything we had?" "I'm choosing honesty over pretense," Alexander said firmly. "I'm choosing someone who asks me what I want instead of telling me what I should be. And yes, I'm choosing her. Or at least I'm choosing the possibility of her, if she'll give me that chance." Emma stood frozen, her hand pressed to her chest. Tears glimmered in her eyes, but she was smiling. Victoria made a disgusted sound and stalked away, her friends scrambling to follow. The crowd gradually resumed their conversations, though curious glances still flickered their way. Alexander turned to Emma fully. "I meant what I said, every word, and I'm sorry I made a scene." "I'm not," Emma said shakily. She stepped closer, closing the distance between them. "No one's ever defended me like that." "Get used to it." Emma laughed through her tears. "This is crazy. We met 2 hours ago." "Crazy is applying to art school at 30 when everyone says you're too old. Crazy is quitting a stable job to chase a dream." Alexander cupped her face gently. "Sometimes crazy is the only thing that makes sense." "You know nothing about me," Emma whispered, though she leaned into his touch. "Then let me learn. Give me time. Give me Tuesdays at 2 and coffee on Thursday mornings and late-night phone calls about nothing important. Let me see your studio and meet your friends and understand what makes you laugh." His voice roughened with emotion. "I know this is fast, but I also know I haven't felt this alive in years." Emma reached up, her fingers tracing his jawline. "Tuesday at 2, she confirmed, "and maybe dinner after?" "Definitely dinner after." They stood there in the middle of the ballroom, oblivious to everyone around them, existing in their own small universe. The orchestra started a new song, something slow and sweet. "Dance with me again," Alexander said. "For real this time. No hiding, no pretense, just us." Emma took his hand. "Just us." They moved onto the dance floor, and this time there was no hesitation in Emma's steps, no calculation in Alexander's movements. They simply swayed together, foreheads touching, breathing in sync. Other couples joined them, but Alexander only saw Emma, her smile, her eyes, the way she bit her lip when she was thinking. "What are you thinking about?" he asked. "That this would make a beautiful painting. This exact moment. The before." "The before what?" "Before everything changes. Before we figure out if this is real or just a beautiful moment in time." She pulled back slightly to meet his eyes. "I want it to be real, Alexander." "It is real," he promised. "I'll spend every day proving it if you let me." As the song ended, Emma rose on her toes and pressed a soft kiss to his cheek. "I believe you," she whispered. They left the gala together shortly after, ignoring the whispers and the stares. Alexander's driver waited outside, but he dismissed the car with a wave. "Walk with me?" he asked Emma. "In these heels?" "We'll go slow." So they walked through the city streets, hand in hand, talking about everything and nothing. Emma told him about growing up in a small town, about her parents who didn't understand her art but supported her anyway. Alexander shared stories about building sandcastles with his father before the empire consumed him, about the pressure of expectations and the weight of legacy. "Do you ever think about doing something else?" Emma asked as they paused at a crosswalk. "All the time. But the company employs thousands of people. It's not just about me anymore." "Maybe you need to find a way to make it about you again. To remember why your father started it in the first place?" Alexander considered this, the city lights reflecting in Emma's eyes. He wanted to create places where families made memories, where people felt welcome. Somewhere along the way we lost that focus. So bring it back. Make that your mission. It sounded simple when she said it. Maybe it could be. Will you help me figure out how? Emma smiled. "I'm an artist, not a business consultant." "You're someone who sees things clearly, who cuts through the noise. That's exactly what I need." They reached Emma's apartment building, a modest walk-up in a neighborhood that had seen better days but retained its charm. She hesitated on the steps. "This is me," she said unnecessarily. "Tuesday at 2, Alexander confirmed, reluctant to let her go. "Tuesday at 2. Emma squeezed his hand. "Thank you for tonight, for defending me, for being real. Thank you for saying yes to a random dance." Emma laughed and started up the steps, then turned back. "Alexander?" "Yes?" "I'm glad you panicked." "Me too." He watched until she disappeared inside, then walked back through the streets with a lightness in his step he hadn't felt in months. His phone buzzed with messages, from board members, from friends asking about the scene, from his assistant wondering if he needed damage control. He ignored them all. Instead, he pulled up Emma's contact and typed, "Thank you for tonight. I can't wait for Tuesday." Her response came quickly. "I'm already counting down the hours." "Sleep well, Alexander Kane." He looked up at the sky, at the stars barely visible through the city's glow, and smiled. Sometimes one random dance truly was all it took to change your life. And as Alexander walked home through the city that suddenly felt full of possibility, he knew with absolute certainty that his life had just changed forever. Thank you so much for watching. If this story touched your heart, hit that subscribe button to join our community of dreamers and romantics. Drop a comment below telling us about a moment that changed your life. We love hearing your stories. And don't forget to smash that like button if you believe in fate, second chances, and the magic of unexpected connections. Your support means everything and helps us bring you more heartfelt stories. Until next time, keep believing in the power of one perfect moment.